Chris, we have a question about the Healthcare Workforce Resilience Act. Can you give us an update in that regard?
Yeah, so for those of you who are new to this, the Healthcare Workforce Resilience Act was introduced into the U.S. Congress in May, so what's that, about 4 months ago? And in that time, it has become one of the most popular bills in the Congress. We're up to about 40 U.S. senators out of 100, so that's a very big number for something that's only a few months old. And in the U.S. system, we have mainly two political parties: the Democrats, which is President Obama's party, and potential President Joe Biden's party. And on the Republican side is the other party, and that is currently Trump's party, President Trump's party. We have a U.S. election, of course, here in less than 2 months, actually, and it's been getting obviously an enormous amount of press here in the U.S. and frankly around the world. But the bill is aimed at bringing in 25,000 nurses to help with the COVID crisis. And but even though it's a very popular bill, the U.S. Congress is really at a standstill. The U.S. Politically is very divided right now, and so the Republicans do not want to give in an inch to the Democrats, and frankly, the Democrats don't really want to give an inch to the Republicans. And a lot of that is because of that neither of them want to be shown as weak before the U.S. election. In any event, I think there's a small window in the next few weeks that the U.S. Congress puts together a COVID relief package, and it would have a whole number, it would have hundreds of things in it, including unemployment payment for Americans who are out of work, including explanations and ways to get an eventual immunization plan rolled out, probably some other things like that. And we would hope to take the Healthcare Workforce Resilience Act and make it one part of this much greater bill. Earlier in the summer, the expectation is that that bill was actually going to pass the U.S. Congress in late July or early August, but 6 weeks or so have gone by since that artificial deadline and nothing's happened. And so at this point, I think there's a small chance here in the next 2 weeks or so, maybe 3 weeks at best, that another COVID bill goes through and that we're a part of it. I think with each day that becomes less and less likely, unfortunately. And so the problem isn't our bill. The problem is that there's no massive bill that our bill can be part of. Having said that, there is some sense after the election that because the pressure would be off and politicians would be politically acceptable for American politicians to try and reach some sort of compromise bill. And so there's a period from about the first week of November until the middle of December, what we call here in the U.S. the lame duck period. And it's called that because there's a number of politicians who are either now voted out of office because they would have lost the November election, including potentially even the president, but they still hold the position until January 1st. So that 8 or so week period from early November until the end of December is called the lame duck period. And traditionally, some compromise bills can get passed during that time. And the hope is that one of those compromise bills might be a massive COVID relief package for the American public. And then the hope beyond that is that the HWRA might be part of that package. So I think we have two windows: a small chance here in the next 2 or 3 weeks, Tanya, and then not a great chance, but another chance sometime in the November, early December timeframe.
Okay. Well, thank you for that update and that clarification. I know this bill has been on a lot of people's minds, and there are a lot of people who worked very hard on trying to get it through, but we will be following it closely and monitoring the situation closely and keeping everyone updated.
I think even if the HWRA is ultimately not successful, I think we've got what Carl was saying, that the visa bulletin is certainly going to be favorable. On January 1st, a new Congress is sat, which means that the HWRA and frankly every other bill in front of Congress disappears, because we then have a new government starting in January. But the groups that are working to get this HWRA are committed to another HWRA bill. It may be called something different, but it will have a lot of the same characteristics of the HWRA into 2021. So that bill isn't going anywhere. And as Carl said, the visa bulletin looks extremely favorable in the next year or two. So all good news, I think, Tanya.
All good news. We love some good news. So please, if anybody is watching, please tag your friends. It's really important to share this information. There's a lot of misinformation and rumor when there's so much change going on in the immigration space. So please, this is the panel's way of paying it forward for you by sharing this information and these immediate updates. Please share this with your friends and colleagues and pay it forward for them too.